Helen McCrory was an absolute legend, probably best known for her roles in the Harry Potter films and the show Peaky Blinders.
I will never forgive you, or accept you, or take you in.
A master of stage and screen, she was as celebrated for her humanitarian work as she was for her acting. But sadly, in 2021, her husband, actor Damian Lewis, announced her death from cancer on X, writing, "She died as she lived, fearlessly. God, we love her and know how lucky we are to have had her in our lives. She blazed so brightly." Her fans, friends, and co-stars were all shocked by the news. In fact, many probably missed the news completely because just weeks before her passing, she was still giving interviews on talk shows like BBC's Newscast and Good Morning Britain. Even that late in her life, she was still working hard to make the world a better place. She and Lewis raised £1 million for the Feed NHS initiative to get food to National Health Service workers during the COVID-19 pandemic. As she told BBC, "Our friends in the NHS said one of the big problems they had was all the cafes and restaurants around the hospitals were closing, and the hours they were doing were longer, and they weren't able to get food. We decided we wanted to try and get food to these people." Kelly Preston starred in a number of films, including Jerry Maguire and What a Girl Wants. Along the road, she also married fellow performer John Travolta, and together they had 3 children. Sadly, Preston spent the last few years of her life battling cancer before succumbing to her illness in July 2020. She was 57. It was a painful loss for her friends and admirers alike, and a major shock to the public. While she'd received several years of treatment before her passing, she'd kept her diagnosis private. Sadly, Preston's fight with cancer wasn't the only hardship her family had endured in recent years. In 2009, she and Travolta also lost their oldest son, Jet, after he suffered a fatal seizure. So Travolta and their loved ones were all too familiar with grief by the time Preston passed on. As a representative for the family said in a statement to People, she was a bright, beautiful, and loving soul who cared deeply about others and who brought life to everything she touched. Her family asks for your understanding of their need for privacy at this time. Many people remember June 25, 2009 as the day we lost Michael Jackson, but the king of pop wasn't the only superstar to die that day. Farrah Fawcett, an undeniable icon thanks to her role in Charlie's Angels, also passed away earlier that day while receiving cancer treatment at a local hospital. But as soon as the news broke that Jackson was gone, the media shifted its focus to the pop star, and Fawcett's passing seemed largely forgotten. And while her legacy briefly faded in the wake of Jackson's death, those close to her believe that's probably how Fawcett would have wanted it. Her friend Alana Stewart told CNN, "I always had the sense that Farrah would kind of be getting a laugh out of that and saying, 'Thank God, they're over there finally. They're leaving me alone.'" Unfortunately, the snubs didn't end there. The following year, the Oscars omitted Fawcett's name from their In Memoriam segment. After speaking with the director of the Academy, Stewart explained that the team behind the tribute had decided Fawcett was more of a TV star and didn't warrant a nod at a film award ceremony. The thing is, Fawcett had acted in over a dozen films in her life, so that reasoning was way off base. Fawcett's journey did get its moment in the sun a few weeks before she died, when Stewart's documentary Farrah's Story aired. Even so, the media never really seemed to acknowledge the gravity of her loss after she passed. Of course, those close to her, like her Charlie's Angels co-stars, will always remember her.
I'm not good at talking about it yet, but it was a lovely friendship.
Fawcett was far from the last actor to be left out of the Oscars' annual In Memoriam spotlight. Even in 2025, several beloved actors weren't given their due. For one, Tony Todd was left out despite his death from cancer in November 2024. Known for his role in Candyman, the horror legend's family and friends were left absolutely fuming that he wasn't mentioned in the tribute. Speaking with TMZ, Todd's widow accused the Academy of racism for the decision and suggested they shouldn't hesitate to celebrate any hardworking artist who dedicated their life to acting. That same year, icons of the screen like Shannon Doherty, Olivia Hussey, and Michelle Trachtenberg were also omitted from the segment, much to the chagrin of fans. Lisa Robin Kelly spent years making us laugh as Eric Foreman's older sister Lori on That 70s Show. And while she found fairly consistent work both before and after her time on the series, she spent much of that time struggling with drug addiction before it ultimately took her life in August 2013. Sadly, just weeks before her passing, she checked herself into rehab and things were looking up. As her agent told E! News, "I spoke to her on Monday and she was hopeful and confident, looking forward to putting this part of her life behind her. Last night, she lost the battle." It's hard to imagine such a beloved sitcom star going through such serious hardships, but by the time of her passing, she'd also run into some trouble with the law. She was arrested for 2 DUIs, domestic abuse, and assault against her then spouse, all in the same 3 years. Sadly, in the years after her passing, her memory continued to fade in the TV ether. Of course, not everyone forgot her. Kurtwood Smith, who played her TV dad Red, remembered the actor with a touching sentiment, saying, "I know the last 10 years have been such a difficult struggle for her, but I will always remember the lovely, funny, and very talented young lady I worked with." If you've laughed at a movie at some point in the last 40-odd years, you probably have Harold Ramis to thank for it to some degree. The writer-director helmed classic films like Groundhog Day and Caddyshack, and famously wrote and starred in the early Ghostbusters films and Stripes. Sadly, after a 4-year battle with the painful disease autoimmune inflammatory vasculitis, he lost his life in 2014. You might think that the fact that he'd been sick for a while was probably the reason there wasn't much fanfare around his passing, but we think there's another explanation. Ramis touched the lives of too many legendary stars and directors to count, and many of them chose to focus on his lasting impact on the industry instead of his absence. As fellow comedy writer-director Judd Apatow gushed to The Hollywood Reporter, Harold Ramis made almost every movie, which made me want to become a comedy director. I looked up to him as a director, but even more so as a man. His Ghostbusters co-stars have also been quick to credit him with much of their success.
We're raw, unfinished talent. We're unfinished diamonds.
Right.
We're very rough.
He disciplined us. He did.
Ramis' daughter, Violet Ramis Steele, celebrated her father by releasing the book Ghostbusters' Daughter, Life with My Dad, Harold Ramis, in 2018. While writing, she too saw just how much of an impact he had on filmmaking. She told EW, "After he died, I really heard from so many people about how much he had meant to them and the things they had learned from him through little interactions and through his work. I just realized it wasn't just with me. He really was this amazing with everybody." John Spencer was best known for his role as Chief of Staff Leo McGarry on The West Wing. A widely beloved actor, Leo ultimately leaves his post after suffering a severe heart attack. What's particularly eerie about that character's fate is that Spencer himself ultimately died of a heart attack in 2005, shortly before his 59th birthday. Largely a character actor, Spencer was absolutely respected and loved in the film and TV industry, but many of his roles were in more cult films and TV shows, and that's probably why his death wasn't too widely publicized. Even so, those who worked with him consider themselves lucky. In a joint statement, West Wing creator Aaron Sorkin and executive producer Tommy Schlamme stated, "John was an uncommonly good man, an exceptional role model, and a brilliant actor. We feel privileged to have known him and worked with him. He'll be missed and remembered every day by his many, many friends." His West Wing co-star Dule Hill spoke for many when he told USA Today, "West Wing without John Spencer isn't the West Wing, to me anyway." We could use the phrase "gone too soon" in regards to many people on this list, but those words might apply to Chris Penn most of all.
It's casual.
Penn gave standout performances in classics like Footloose and Reservoir Dogs, and was going through something of a career renaissance when he passed away at just 40. Up to his last performance, Penn was a consummate professional, as his many co-stars will tell you. Speaking with the New York Post, fellow Footloose star Laurie Singer recalled, "He had the understated brilliance of a true artist. He was real in person and in his acting. He was the real thing." Unfortunately, Penn had an enlarged heart and was taking multiple prescription drugs, a combination that ultimately killed him. Upon hearing the news, his brother, Sean Penn, chose to stay quiet and had his publicist share a statement requesting privacy for him and his family, which may have informed why Chris ultimately went so quietly. Glenn Quinn may not have been around for long, but he brought some iconic characters to life while he was here. He was probably best known for his roles on the Buffy the Vampire Slayer spinoff Angel and the classic sitcom Roseanne. With 2 major series on his resume by the time he was 30, it looked like he was at the outset of a very promising career. As the Irish Independent noted, he came up in the wake of fellow Irish legends like Daniel Day-Lewis and Brendan Gleeson, and seemed just as poised to go down in acting history. Tragically, all that was cut short when he died from an accidental heroin overdose in 2002. He was just 32 at the time, and many had a hard time believing such a talented young man was gone before he really even had his moment in the sun. His Roseanne co-star Michael Fishman told the Irish Independent, "I was shocked and devastated when Glenn passed away. You have to understand, Glenn was like a spotlight of a man. He could cut through the darkest moment and light things up." While he didn't quite get a chance to break into the mainstream, those who worked with him will never forget the experience. His Angel co-star David Boreanaz recalled to EW, "Glenn played a great character, but also became a really close friend of mine. God rest his soul." Actor Andy Whitfield was never quite a household name, but he was well on his way thanks to his titular role on Starz' Spartacus, Blood and Sand. But after a monumental first season, he was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He immediately had to stop training for the next season and was ultimately pulled from the show altogether. The president of the network said in a statement at the time, "Andy is not only an incredible actor whose portrayal of Spartacus made an indelible impression on Starz audiences, he is also an amazing human being whose courage, strength, and grace in the face of adversity have inspired all of us." Sadly, the Welsh actor lost his battle in 2011 at the age of 39. He was survived by his wife and 2 children. His Spartacus co-star Jai Courtney summed up many people's feelings when he told ABC News the trajectory he was on was pretty incredible. It's tough to imagine there would have been a limit to what he could have achieved.
You know, he inspired people every day and engaged with people every day in a way that was really quite, magnetic.
And while he never got the chance to touch as many hearts as he should have, his memory lives on in the documentary Be Here Now, the Andy Whitfield story. If you never knew Mary Pat Gleason's name, you've almost certainly seen her on the screen at some point. From the 1980s until her 2020 passing, Gleason had over 170 roles to her name, including some major productions like A Cinderella Story, Intolerable Cruelty, and The Crucible. Later in life, she also had a recurring role as Mary on Mom. Throughout her years on set, Gleason's sweet disposition endeared her to many of her co-stars. Sadly, her long stint in the entertainment world came to a close when she died of cancer at the age of 70. After hearing the news, her mom co-star Jamie Presley wrote a long post celebrating her late friend on Instagram. She wrote, "Our beloved Miss Mary Pat has passed, and it's a hard one to digest. However, in these angry, unsettling, unstable times, I feel better knowing that we've got an amazing soul like her up there watching over us." No matter how small a role she had or at which point in her career she met someone, it seems that Gleason left a similar impact on almost everyone she worked with. Her A Cinderella Story co-star Hilary Duff told USA Today, "Just being in her presence, you felt comfortable and safe, like a warm hug. I feel grateful to have gotten even the small amount of time with Mary that I did many moons ago." Erin Moran was once a household name thanks to her role as Joni on the beloved sitcom Happy Days and its spin-off Joni Loves Chachi. Unlike a lot of other people on the list, Moran chose to spend much of her life away from the limelight when her time as Joni came to a close. She gradually slowed her career down throughout the 90s and early 2000s, earning her last credit in 2010. She passed away in 2017 at the age of 56 due to complications from stage 4 cancer. In the years leading up to her death, she frequently got into trouble in the tabloids. By the time she passed away, she'd made headlines for everything from drunken fights with family members to losing her California home to foreclosure and bouncing around cheap motels. Many of Moran's friends and loved ones spent much of her later life worrying about her, but that didn't stop her Happy Days co-stars from celebrating the talented young star they knew. Ron Howard wrote on X, "I'll always choose to remember you on our show, making scenes better, getting laughs, and lighting up TV screens."